Hello and welcome to Pave the Way, a Raahgiri Foundation podcast. And this is a special series for the CAQM Resource Lab. It's about public spaces, it's about the streets we walk, the air we breathe, and the cities we deserve. I'm Nidhi Madan, Director, Cities and Urban Landscape at the Raahgiri Foundation. And I'm delighted to have with me Mr. Tarun Kumar Pithode, who is the Member Secretary of CAQM. CAQM is the Commission for Air Quality Management, probably the most powerful air quality regulatory body in India. It was set up to cover the National Capital Territory of Delhi as well as Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan and UP. It provides coordinated cross-state legal authority that earlier bodies lacked, with power to issue binding directions to state governments and to impose penalties for non-compliance. Its work spans what we all know of as GRAP, stubble burning elimination, industrial regulation, construction dust, vehicular emission and active mobility. Mr. Pithode is Joint Secretary of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. As Director Climate Change, he also attended COP29 and UNFCCC subsidiary bodies. We welcome him to the podcast and are delighted to hear him talk to us about CAQM, about what we're all very curious to know about how are we going to fix our air and how are we all going to do it together. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much. I think this is a great initiative where what we are doing can be told to people, and this would really help us in ensuring that whatever goals we want to achieve, if people are with us, this will definitely help us in achieving it with greater speed.
Thank you. To start with, to a lot of people, CAQM is an unfamiliar institution other than GRAP, which we hear about in the winter months. But it's a body that works very extensively across various sectors, across 4 states, many cities, and has a lot of power that we don't know about. Do tell us about CAQM, how it's set up, how it works.
You have already told that, we were set up in 2021 when this act came into force. So CAQM is a regulatory body with a lot of powers, not only for regulation, but for overseeing how things are happening on the field. So CAQM has come up with a policy in 2021 when we started working. That policy is a result of feedback from people, feedback from many experts, and from various sections of the society. And we compiled it, published it, and it's in public domain now. And it covers every sector which is responsible for causing air pollution, and that also covers how we should deal with those issues to ensure that we are actually able to reduce the air pollution to the levels which are set up by the government of India, and those standards we have to achieve for Delhi NCR.
Okay. Could you tell us a little about the sectors that CAQM covers?
We cover, as I said, the most important sectors. If we see from the source apportionment studies and emission inventory, then the most important cause of air pollution, they include vehicular emissions, they include dust from construction, from road, and they also have seasonal variations like stubble burning. Then we have MSW, biomass. We also have industries. Industry is one of the major contributors. Then thermal power plant, which we can club with industry. And similarly, we have a couple of other smaller sectors. But now the emissions which are causing secondary sources, I must say, they are also becoming one of the important factors of air pollution. So all in all, these sectors constitute the most important sources of air pollution, and we require to deal with all these sectors simultaneously if we want to achieve our goals with greater speed.
Okay. So you mentioned vehicular emissions is a very large factor of our emissions, and obviously it continues through the year. There is a lot of discussion about vehicular emissions, congestion. It's continuing to erode the air quality, and there are many smaller interventions, but like Grab, like other things. But there is also a lot of a movement towards clean transition, towards electrification, to also move towards walking, cycling, public transport. So how does CAQM look at this transition, and what is the roadmap that we're looking at to maybe achieve some reduction in air pollution through that?
See, as I said, you have asked me how people know about CAQM. GRAP is definitely one thing. And many a times, many of my friends, when they say AQI, then they connect us with AQI. So in vehicular emissions, as we understand that this is one of the major cause of, PM 2.5, and which dominates during winters. So, and it is very important to control this. So, CAQM has issued many directions with regard to vehicular emissions uh, that include direction regarding three-wheelers, direction regarding four-wheelers, direction regarding commercial goods vehicle, direction regarding buses. And today we see that most of the buses, interstate buses, they have switched to the cleaner fuels, for example, CNG and or EV or BS6. Similarly, we have also mandated it for three-wheelers. So the three-wheelers have shifted from diesel petrol to CNG and EV. And we have also stopped commercial goods vehicle with BS3 and below standards to ply on Delhi road from November 2025, just last winters. So likewise, there are many efforts. We have also tried to sensitize various governments in all these NCR states to increase the public transport, the clean public transport. For example, you must have seen that Delhi has come up with a great initiative for EV transition, and now many of their buses are EV buses. So that is really what is required. And as we switch more and more buses from now CNG to EV, that will help us in making the city more clean as far as vehicles are concerned. We need to come up with EV policies for two-wheelers and for other vehicles also. So we need to have a mix of these vehicles in such a way that we have higher standard vehicles which have very low emissions and those vehicles who can run on EV and public transport, especially the number of stations which are increasing, the kilometers which are increasing for Delhi Metro. That is also helping us in reducing the air pollution, as it is one of the most cleanest way of travel. But the vehicular emissions cannot be dealt only with this point in our mind. We need to think holistically. It's the whole gambit which we have to change. For instance, you talked about cycle tracks.
Right.
So when we think of making our air clean, we also need to ensure that most of the people who are willing to walk, they have been given opportunity to walk. So for that, we need to have good footpaths. We need to have walking tracks where people feel safe and they are not continuously haunted by the vehicles. They have proper crossings. They don't feel threatened to cross a road. So we have to set the whole ecosystem in such a way that we take people out of their vehicle and motivate them to walk. Second, we also need to ensure cycle tracks where people who are willing to use bicycles, they can use their bicycle, and that will reduce the not only the vehicular emissions but the carbon footprint, the over exploitation of resources. So whatever we have been talking about and whatever we think as a common man, that what can be done is the real I feel the real secret to really bringing about a lot of change. So we need to ensure that we have good public amenities, we have great facilities, we have very good footpaths. As I keep on telling many of my friends, I was doing some research when I was writing something. I found that a person can walk from Greece to Paris. Can you believe this? They have those kind of facilities and footpaths available where people can just walk to such great distances. So likewise, we need to ensure that we, in our cities, we have footpaths where we can say that a person, if he wants to start from his house and wants to reach a metro station or some other place, can go it so comfortably that they need not feel the need of four vehicle. Why we are using so many four wheelers? We need to go into that psychological aspect also, that people do not feel comfortable in walking, in using cycles. We need to have more and more cycle tracks, dedicated cycle tracks, where bikes or other vehicles cannot just go through. So that way we can ensure that we that's how we will ensure that we actually reduce air pollution. And it requires a lot of effort. It won't happen only with the directions which we are issuing, but it requires the public participation of all the agencies, sensitization of all the people who are in this whole chain. I must say that the municipal authorities must be sensitized, and not only the higher officers, but to the last person who does the work on the field. They should also be sensitized that why we require footpaths, why they should be built in such a way. Those who clear the footpaths, those who clean the footpaths, they should also know why they are so important. And it's not that we have made them and people are then using it to sell their things. So we need to keep it encroachment free. And it would happen only when everybody who is there in that chain, they are sensitized and they are made aware. And a lot of training, a lot of capacity building is required for that. And we are happy to tell that we are working in every sphere in some way or the other. Only that the results would definitely take some time to show. And I think this is the way we are dealing with the vehicular sector.
Yeah. And also, since you mentioned so much about walking, cycling and public infrastructure, and yes, we're looking at a shift from an energy point of view, but so much of the energy is also that people utilize in walking and being comfortable in it, being convenient and safe. And I think it's important, and we would love to hear you tell us a little bit about the city action plans that CAQM has mandated from all the different states it's working in. And I think it's a very powerful start. But please do tell us about the city action plans for road redevelopment and how you foresee that going forward with all of these different layers of integration of the understanding of municipalities, of people, of consultants, of integration of different disciplines, even down to people managing and cleaning streets and public amenities.
It's a great initiative, I must say. Our Honorable Minister sir took a lot of meetings, our Chairperson sir took a lot of meetings, and we sensitized all these municipal corporations and development bodies of NCR. There are major 16 of them. Why this was started? The most important reason was how we sensitize the authorities who are responsible for air pollution, and how to make them aware that they have to deal with it. So we had set this broader framework of an election plan. We shared the template, and now these bodies, they have prepared their action plan with various targets. They have set their targets for road development. They have set their targets for various other initiatives like inspections to be conducted in industries, then the number of stations which are to be set up for watching and for monitoring air pollution, the initiative which they have to take for vehicle or vehicle related pollution, for MSW, which is municipal solid waste, to collect it, to segregate it, and to ensure that it is treated fully, so that we do not see litter on our roads or elsewhere. And to the extent that in winters, we all know people sometimes use it for heating purposes. So they have set their goals for finishing the legacy waste, for ensuring that they are ready to process the waste which is getting generated per day, and then There are also targets related to biomass. There are targets related to the roads which they have to develop in 1 year, the number of e-buses which they have to purchase, procure. And one of the most important thing is how we clean our roads, because if we continue to broom our roads as we used to do earlier, it's not heavenly possible now to clean our roads manually. So now we have mechanized road sweeping machines which are being used increasingly across the country. We have mandated these municipal bodies and developmental authorities to use more and more mechanized sweeping as a way to clean the roads that will ensure timely and proper cleaning of the roads. So they have set all these targets for themselves. We have put these annual action plans in public domain so that people can also know as to what targets have been fixed by their cities, and that way we can ensure accountability from the authorities as to if you have given this target, what have you achieved. So people can start more and asking more and more questions. At the same time, there is a role for people to understand what is being planned, what is being done, and their part and their contribution in the whole annual action plan. So I think it is to sensitize, it is to train them, and it is to ensure that once they have set the target, they are achieving it.
Yeah. It's wonderful to know that a citizen has access to finding out what a plan is, and I think that is a very powerful tool to have an action plan on paper that a citizen can or anybody can come and question and maybe even contribute to, because so much of air pollution is related to the health and the daily lives of citizens, not just their health, their mobility, construction activity around, waste burning, how it impacts children. And somewhere there, while you talk about the road construction, even issues of what we look at in climate change, we're looking at flooding, we're looking at heat. So many of the suggestions and the requirements as far as the city action plans includes greening, includes managing systems, including managing waste. And that is a huge component which we don't see, because as we grow so fast as a country, as we develop, we look at this conflict between development and environment, but it actually works together, doesn't it? That we just have to learn to manage our waste, and waste burning is such a huge part because we're not managing. So what is CAQM directing or working on, we expect to mandate from managing waste, both at a domestic level but also industrial, construction and other kinds of waste?
Yeah, as you mentioned about waste, I have also told you about the directions which we have issued. We have issued one direction related to municipal solid waste, because many times it has been noticed that during summers or even during other times, it gets just burnt up. I won't say that someone is burning it.
Yes.
So we have mandated that the arrangement should be there to monitor the emissions which are taking place from the waste which is lying there, and it is not actually burning. So that direction mandates that they install instruments, they install sensors to monitor that no burning is taking place of MSW. That will ensure that fumes are not coming out and smoke is not coming out and PM 2.5 is not getting generated. So that is one aspect of it. But to ensure that it is actually complied, we keep on calling meeting of these bodies. We keep on taking data from them, reports from them as to how they are managing. And I must say that it has reduced to a great extent the fire which used to take place in municipal solid waste. But the most important thing is, if we finish our municipal solid waste completely, which is the legacy waste, and then we are able to manage the waste which we are generating every day, then we can ensure that there is no pollution taking place with that. And the rule and the framework is already in place. So one is framework which has already been provided by Government of India.
Right.
They are mandated to segregate the waste, to properly, use the waste for energy, and to ensure that there is no waste lying on the roads and it's not getting accumulated.
Right.
So there are rules, municipal solid waste rules, various other rules. Now municipal bodies only required to ensure that they are adhering to these rules, they are following these rules, and they are ensuring that those targets are met, and they have the capability to do it. For example, we see the example of Indore, one of the cleanest cities in India. Then we see example of even Bhopal, which is the cleanest capital in India.
Right.
So when they can do it, others can also do it. Only that it requires is sensitization and then setting up the infrastructure. Similarly, for other sectors also, wherever we feel that there is no framework or some direction is mandatory, then we issue direction, we bring norms, we set framework. We have set a framework for how roads should be developed, which we call as
Right.
CAQM framework. So once if the municipal authorities are making the roads as per that framework, you would see that there is no dust on the road. And then cleaning the road with uh, mechanized sweeping machines, we have issued a norm for that, what kind of machines we require, how they should be operated and all. So if they are making the roads as per the framework, they are using mechanized sweeping as per the norms we have issued, you find that the dust would be just gone. So similarly, we have done it for other sectors also. Wherever we have felt that there is rules are missing or we need to have further rules, then we issue directions. And we set up a ecosystem where we have rules, we have regulations, we have the infrastructure, and now the municipal authorities or developmental bodies are required only to execute those and implement those rules and regulations.
Okay. You mentioned the accountability and managing all of these rules. What role does the pollution control boards in different states play in following through with CAQM directions or working with authorities? And how does the system of once there is a policy, a framework in place, how does the accountability get built in? How does the capacity building get built into this framework?
Uh, it's a great question, because I just forgot to mention about state pollution control boards. State pollution control boards, they have a great role when it comes to industrial pollution, when it comes to any kind of air pollution, even water pollution, whatever pollution is taking place. So for air pollution, we direct all these pollution control boards to ensure that they are doing the number of inspections which are required to be done for industries. They are ensuring that the air pollution caused by industries are not happening. Industries are adhering to the standards which have already been set up. So state pollution control boards are the first point of contact which we have in the states. For every direction, for every instruction, advisory, norm which we use, we first tell it to the state pollution control board, who coordinates with all these authorities. We also coordinate directly with state governments and these authorities, but state pollution control boards have a great role because they are the first agency responsible for ensuring that these rules relating to pollutions are being adhered to. So they are our arms in a way. We coordinate their efforts, we coordinate their actions, and they help us in implementing these rules at the ground level. And if these rules and directions are not complied with, then CAQM has also been authorized with the power to prosecute the authorities and the project proponents if they are not adhering to the directions, orders, and advisories.
Okay. You mentioned industrial pollutants and how industries comply or don't comply. Where are the data gaps or the enforcement gaps, and what is the systematic approach that is being looked at to move towards maybe greener fuels or clean technologies or reducing pollution?
You must have, I think, noted that CAQM had already made it mandatory for all the industry not to use coal. So that was a big step, removing coal from the industrial sector and shifting to greener alternatives, for example, PNG. I'm happy to tell that PNG network has reached to almost all the industrial areas, and that way we are ensuring that the coal which was burnt earlier is no more burnt now. They are also mandated to use biomass to some extent, and briquettes, and so the kind of fuel they are using, they are also mandated to install those devices which can ensure that the pollution which may take place because of the kind of fuel they are using is properly checked, is stopped at the source itself, and the air is cleaner. So that way, a lot of steps have been taken in industrial sector, and recently we have issued another direction where we have mandated that the emission norms have been revised, and now the industry is in 17 categories, which are most polluting industries. Red category, then food and food processing industry, metallurgy, metallurgical plants, and textile industry, where we see the maximum amount of pollution happening. They have been mandated to reduce the emission levels to 50 milligram per volume. So that way we have set a new benchmark of emission standards, and with this we believe that the industrial pollution would reduce further, and we have given them a deadline for it to implement all these emission standards by installing various devices which are required to be installed.
Okay. And all of this is all measurable outcomes, and a lot of it right now is linked to AQI. Are there health and health metrics that we're also looking at through CAQM to assess these benchmarks of changes in air pollution? And especially because that is something that we're seeing, and I think this year we've seen so many doctors come out and say, the effects on health, on heart disease, on lung disease, and on children's development, it's so huge that does that measuring of those metrics and all the work that is happening both intentionally and what we hope to see in the next few years, are those metrics being measured as well?
We keep on hearing various kind of experts. In fact, one of the committee which is now deliberating on vehicular emissions, we have the former director of AIMS Delhi also in that. So, it's always there. We try to hear the experts, but we have Ministry of Health and various other bodies who are, mandated and who are better placed than us when it comes to health related effects of pollution. Our mandate is to ensure that we are working on air pollution front, and also ensuring that the air pollution goes away from the source itself. So we are working with that approach, and that's why we keep on hearing, we keep on understanding from them. Yet our main goal is to ensure that the emissions are reduced and in fact eliminated from the source itself.
Right. Since you're mentioning source, every winter we have these very extensive discussions and sort of blaming of parali and crop burning as a huge source of pollution. And there has been a very significant reduction in the last few years. So do tell us about the efforts of CAQM to achieve that.
You have mentioned about parali, and this was a big problem in Delhi, because during winters we know that the air speed reduces almost to zero, and even the vertical mixing, which we call as ventilation, that doesn't happen during winters because of the topography of Delhi. And we have one of the most challenging, I must say that maybe either first or second most challenging areas when it comes to winters. So Delhi is placed in such a way that the air just does not go out from here. So whatever pollution is happening, that remains limited in this particular topography, in this particular area. At the same time, since there is no ventilation, so the pollutants, they remain limited to a very small height, and that way the intensity of pollution increases by huge margins. In fact, many times during winters, and that's why we see the AQI level going so high. And during that time only, the paddy is harvested, and there is a particular variety of seed which was used earlier. That stubble is not eaten by animals, and the window of next sowing is so small. The time is so small that farmer, they believe that if they burn it, that's the only way they can deal with it. So to stop it, CAQM has been working very intensely with all these states, nearby states, Punjab and Haryana especially. And over the years, we have set their election plans. We have issued directions to enforce and ensure the implementation of those election plans. And with that effort, we have seen that the number of fire incidences have come down by more than 90% in both Haryana and Punjab. However, there have been instances of burnt area assessment where we feel that the area which is being burned is has not reduced to that extent, but the intensity of stubble burning has gone down, and that intensity is getting reflected in terms of AQI also. Last year, we have seen less number of severe days. We have seen the number of very high polluting days getting reduced, and especially during that month. So that's a good direction we are navigating, I believe. And with concerted effort, we are very sure that this Parali problem will just go away. But we also need to see it as an opportunity. Today we all see that because of geopolitical tensions, sometimes, and wars, the supplies of gas and petroleum products gets affected. And in India, we have so much of resource, so much of biomass. If we use that very efficiently, we can turn this adversity to a great opportunity, and I believe that's happening in a great way. The government of India has mandated to have more and more CBG plants, more and more use of biomass in industrial purposes and all. So with that, if we can use this parali to make CBG, we will have gas coming to our homes, houses, using this CBG. So the parali which we are burning, we are causing not only global warming, but a lot of air pollution in Delhi because of the stubble burning that can be stopped. And if we can ensure that every piece of stubble is used in a constructive way, then we can not only solve the problem of air pollution, but we can also solve the problem of gas supply. We can reduce our dependency on foreign sources, and we can save a lot of foreign exchange if we use it very constructively. And I believe we are going in that direction. We are promoting the installation of CBG plants. We are talking to Ministry of Petroleum. We are also talking to Ministry of Renewable Energy. We are talking to these state governments to sort out the problems which are being faced by this sector. We are also seeing what kind of problems the plants are facing, and why people are not willing to give their parali. And we are setting up the infrastructure right from the machines which cut this stubble, and balers. Then we are also watching the number of CRM machines, happy seeder. I mean, the whole infrastructure which is required to extract paddy and use it in a constructive way. So that we are also watching and ensuring that we call it XC2, management of stubble. And if we can ensure that XC2 management of stubble is done 100%, then the whole stubble burning would just go away. Another direction in which we have worked is, we have mandated for thermal power plants to use at least 5% of co-firing with these biomass pellets. We have also mandated for the brick kilns to use more and more pellets. And they have to reach more than 50% in 2-3 years. So that way we are managing stubble, and it's not only that we are stopping it, we are encouraging farmers to use in such a way that they get something out of it. So parali should become a punji for our farmers, and for the whole supply chain. That will ensure that parali is not burned, but it is kept, stored, and it can be it is paying back to the farmer in a way.
Right. And you mentioned because winter it's parali, it's crop burning, it's the climate inversion. But in summer it's road dust, it's vehicular emissions, and the vehicular emissions are consistent through. But road dust, construction dust is also a huge aspect of managing the urban spaces that we have. And while we're seeing it in North India for a long time, we're now seeing it across the country. That even though you don't have those climatic conditions, we're seeing road dust, construction dust, vehicular emissions, almost escalate to a point we have to, work on them probably in a multi-layered approach, as Parali has been dealt with. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Uh, our country is growing,
Right.
and that is getting reflected in terms of the kind of buildings we are seeing
Yes.
being constructed, and the quantum of construction which is going on around. So, now we again need to have a mechanism, some ecosystem in which we ensure that construction, if it is taking place, dust is not getting generated from that construction. May it be building construction, even road construction. We have already issued direction, and it is being implemented through various pollution control boards, and the project proponents have been guided and they have been mandated to ensure compliance of that direction. That direction ensures that all the buildings which are more than 500 square meter of area, they are mandated to have camera, a device that monitors the air quality in that particular area. They need to have anti-smoke guns, then water sprinklers. They need to install windbreakers. They need to have dust breakers, and such way there are so many things which they have to ensure. If they ensure all that, then the dust which is getting generated from the construction activities can be stopped. And to ensure that they are following it, we continuously do inspections in these areas, and those who are not following the norms and the directions, then their work is closed. And we have been doing it in many cases. But what we are also seeing is now the project proponents are becoming aware, and they are installing these measures. However, a lot of work is still required to be done, and we have also given authority and we have delegated power to municipal corporations to watch all the sites which are less than 500 square meter of area. And pollution control boards have also been mandated to watch all these sites, and the feed which is coming from these cameras are to be monitored by the state pollution control boards. So as you are asking what state pollution control boards have to do, they have great role in not only industrial pollution but in construction activities also, and to reduce the pollution from dust which is being caused by construction.
Okay. And we're seeing across the world, and I think COVID sort of brought to light the fact that we could have clean air, that there are sort of large impacts of changing how vehicles are used, or spaces that are low emission zones, maybe spaces that people come together and, have streetscapes that are accessible, that are safe, that people can walk safely, commute, but also not have to deal with congestion, not have to deal with conflict, not have to deal with fumes. So there's a larger discussion all in place on low emission zones, clean air zones. How do you see that as a possibility to implement, to showcase in the city? And how do you see the direction of that as a way that core city centers, because typically that's the most congested areas that we have in our city, can move towards that?
It's a brilliant not only idea, I must say that many now cities have started implementing it, and we have been thinking about it very seriously, and we have to work with developmental authorities and municipal bodies to earmark the area. We have started discussing this, and now we believe that in times to come, we should be able to identify the areas in all these major cities of NCR, including Delhi, where we can think of some areas which can be made as very low emission zones, and maybe just walking zones and free of vehicles or vehicular traffic. That would be a very great initiative, I believe, and we are working on it. We are discussing this. Let's hope that we see more of such low emission zones in times to come.
Okay. So, just in terms of people who work for CAQM and with CAQM, there are a lot of experts, a lot of scientists. Do tell us about the engagements and how how a lot of this expertise and these multi-sectoral domain expertise feeds into a lot of the planning that happens or could happen.
As you said, we have empaneled many experts. We have a channel of experts, and whenever we require something to be deliberated on, or we require serious efforts, then some committees are set up. So these experts are roped in from our this pool of experts, and not only during that time, but we keep on hearing from them. And it's only not only the domain experts, but we get feedback from people, we get feedback from all kind of sectors, and these feedbacks are helping us to understand the sector in a better way, to come out with strategy, to come out with our decisions and directions. And I must say that many people, they communicate to us through mail, through social media, and all this form the basis for our decision making. It's not that we are working in silos. We hear people, we hear experts, and we go into greater details of every important topic. And after that only we suggest something, or we come out with our direction, one direction which we issue that requires a lot of effort. As we were talking about construction dust, I must tell that recently we have issued a direction regarding, in fact that's getting implemented from 1st of April. So that direction is regarding demolition waste, because many buildings are being demolished, and since there was no proper direction for smaller buildings which we have issued now, we believe with that we should be able to check the kind of dust which was getting generated with demolition activities. So that's how we are working with many experts right now. As I told you that one of our expert committee on vehicles, the chairperson is from IIT Madras, and the co-chair is is the former director of AIMS Delhi. So we have been working with experts, and they found the backbone of the decisions which we are taking.
Okay. So we'll move towards a little bit of citizens and their engagement and their understanding of air pollution and their role. So much of the time people feel, that's something we can't control. So then you move to your air purifiers in your rooms and we disengage a little bit. But there is such a big role in a lot of the support and adaptation and move towards some of the directions that that CAQM issues. So I just wanted to know, what role do you see that citizens can play, should play, or you hope they will play as we go forward?
See, whatever we have discussed so far, nothing is possible without people's support,
Right.
and their involvement and their engagement. Because whatever we are doing, how many people are us? I mean, in our organization, hardly 50 people.
Right.
If we include all the development bodies, all the government agencies, then still we would not be more than 1%. As our honorable minister sir also tells that, we are hardly 1% in numbers. So we need to engage people. And it's that for the people, everything is being done. So without their involvement, without their understanding, without their sensitivity, nothing could be achieved. See, why we are talking of vehicular sector. So people, if they are aware, if we can provide them the kind of infrastructure we are envisaging, then the people who are riding two-wheelers, maybe they'll walk, they will use public transport. So this is about the usage, but the feedback which comes from people, that makes the basis of our decisions, as I mentioned. And if people are not involved, then just by issuing instruction, we cannot ensure that that is being followed. So people need to have trust, people need to have understanding, people need to have faith, and people need to believe that this effort is going to bring change. And then if they get involved, then whatever directions are being issued can be implemented in a big way. So people have great role, ranging from giving us feedback, from getting involved, from helping us in getting it implemented, and then asking for it. People have one of the biggest role in setting the accountability, in ensuring the accountability, in asking for what they deserve. When they keep on asking, the bodies that, these developmental bodies and corporations, that we want cleaner air. So with the task, these agencies would be, forced to ensure that they are actually delivering what people are asking for. Whatever people require, that is being supplied by the agencies. So I think when they continuously keep on asking about cleaner roads, better facilities, no air pollution, that would eventually start happening. So people have the biggest role, I must say, in getting all these things done.
Right. And one of those roles really is this decision, and I think a huge, both an economic decision for people is to buy a car, and buy or not buy, but also because if there is a move towards EV adoption, how do you see that playing a role in reducing air pollution, and how do you see the direction of where someone makes that decision that you have to plan because that is where we're going? Is there a roadmap for that?
See, people uh, would buy cars because the way country is growing, and people should buy car. That helps in economic activity. Maybe that they should use that car uh, only when it is required.
Yeah.
They should have, they should ride on metro, they should use public transport, cleaner buses, EV. So as you mentioned, EV, which direction EV is taking us, where EV is going, and how it is going to help us. So EV has a great role because it's zero tailpipe emission vehicle.
Right.
So at least we can reduce PM 2.5 when we use EV vehicles. But to expect that, the whole scenario is such that in a year we convert to EV, that's little difficult. So we need to have cleaner vehicles with EV, with public transport based on EV. We need to have more and more two-wheelers on EV, with people shifting to EV. That will not only help us in reducing emission, but will also help us in reducing our dependence on petroleum products, which again we import, and our foreign exchange can be saved. So it's here that I believe people are shifting to EVs. Delhi government has come up with a great incentive policy on EV. With that happening, with increased speed of shifting to EV, the pollutions can reduce. But imagine a scenario where everyone is having n number of vehicles. Then roads would not be sufficient for all the vehicles to ply at the same time. So ultimately, the main goal, or the greater goal, I believe, is to have more and more public transport, safe public transport, and better public amenities where people can walk more rather than using their vehicle more.
It's interesting that CAQM has such a pivotal role in connecting so many different layers of our economy, our society, impacting culture, and how, even to use public space. And there's so many different stakeholders that play a part in ensuring there's an accountability to the entire system. But tell me, how do people find out about what is happening other than the city action plans? Because a lot of conversations end up being, and based on assumptions. So where is the source of information that people should look at to understand what CAQM is doing?
They can, visit our website. They can visit our, social media channels, for example, X, or they can see the kind of press releases which we do, and then there are reports in the press. We also issue our annual report. We also have our policy, which is there on our website. So I believe if people want to know what's happening in CAQM, they can just log in and go to the website and see what we are doing again.
So, is there some larger goal for the nation for emission reductions that CAQM has in place, or is looking as a roadmap towards? Are there shorter goals? Is there a different strategies for different sectors, or is it across the board that all of them converge in?
We we have set up a policy, and that policy document is the greater goal, I must say, that we have, that keeps on guiding us as to what actions have to be taken. We have set up our long-term goals and short-term goals, and as I mentioned you, annual action plan is one such part of that goal. We've also submitted such steps which we need to take for long-term. I must say, as a long-term goal, we have submitted it to the Honorable Supreme Court also. So we have those goals, and we are working in that direction. They keep on guiding us, and they keep on guiding us to communicate it to the responsible agencies, as you said, all the stakeholders. We have many stakeholders, more than 140 agencies which we interact, and we expect that they must all be adhering to those guidelines which we are issuing to actually achieve those long-term goals and short-term goals also, and to ensure that these goals which we have communicated to them, if they are achieved, and to ensure that they are achieved, we continuously monitor, we review, we keep on going to various states, we take meeting, and we see what actions they have taken, whether they're going in right direction or not. And that way we not only review with state governments, but we also review with municipal bodies and developmental agencies. We keep on calling their meetings, and if they lack somewhere, then we issue direction for that, or we with this mechanism, lot is happening, and we believe that the goals which we want to achieve, the long-term goals, will definitely be achieved.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you feel like we've missed that you'd like to share, or you feel people should know, or you'd want people to align with?
I must say that people should come up, and they should have faith in the steps which are being taken. They should ask more and more from their local authorities about clean air. That would force the authorities to ensure that all the steps are taken, because if only one agency keep on guiding or keep on asking about cleaner air, the efforts would be humongous. Whereas if everybody keeps on asking their local authorities that they want cleaner road, they want good footpaths, they want more and more metro stations, they want better networks, they want better n-mile connectivity to the metro, and they want better vehicles, better public transport, and no industrial pollution, waste segregation, no municipal solid waste which is being kept, and heaps of waste becoming mountains. So if people just ask that they want cleaner air, we would get great help, in a way that force will help our efforts, and we would be able to achieve all this maybe in a smaller span of time. This is not to suggest that we are shifting away from our responsibility. Whatever we have to do, we are doing it. We'll continue to do it. Only that with people's involvement, our effort would fructify, and we would reach our target very soon, I believe. And I see that in times to come, we'll see much better air in Delhi NCR. And only that the challenges which we have in terms of topography, in terms of climate and weather, especially during those winter months, we should be able to deal with it. One last thing I would urge from this platform, that it's the people, and at the same time the various organizations which are working in this field. I must urge them also that they are sensitizing people, they're working in this direction. So they should also work very diligently and in a dedicated way, and they should not feel discouraged that nothing is happening. Lot is happening, I must say. If we see from last 2 years, then we see that yes, lot has happened, and we continuously to do it. So all the agencies which are working in this field, I urge them also to continue to work, and with greater force they should keep on working.
So you mentioned how we get here. So do tell us systematically at a systems level, what should we expect to see in the upcoming years?
See, if we are to reduce air pollution and to achieve our target of national standards, meeting national standards, then all the state governments, all the developmental bodies and municipal corporations need to work in the state of Haryana Delhi, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, and even Punjab when it comes to stubble burning. So the concerted effort would ensure that we are actually reaching to our targets. And the systemic changes, as I mentioned, that we are setting the ecosystem.
Right.
There was no understanding of the way roads should be built. We have set a framework for it. So why we have set a framework? That framework would guide people what kind of roads are to be made. Then we have also set up the norms for mechanized cleaning. We have set up the norms for industries. We have set up the regulations for waste collection. So that way we are building an ecosystem that would, once established in a proper way and is being run, we would see that the air is much cleaner. And it's with this effort, we would not only clean our air, but we would also ensure that a lot of civic amenities which required to be in ideal form, that will also be seen around us. And we won't believe when we see better roads, better footpaths, and better facilities when we deal with air pollution. So as a result, we will not only achieve a reduction in air pollution, but we will also see greater and better civic amenities.
And when you mention systemic changes and an ecosystem approach, it's really everybody has to get on board, from local governments, from people constructing, from engineers who are managing, to people who are managing the infrastructure later on. And everybody has to be on the same page to understand the outcome, as opposed to, just a process-based approach where we're doing. We have to all have the same goal in mind, the same vision of what we're going to achieve. And that's obviously a huge task, but I think that is something through possibly the efforts of capacity building, of the roadmaps, the city action plans, the accountability, and also citizen accountability that we hope will come into this process, that's something we hope to see.
Yes, and as you mentioned about stakeholders, recently we have, how we are setting the ecosystem. We have also issued a framework for engaging the stakeholders.
Right.
For example, when it comes to industry, industrialists are the biggest stakeholders. If we have issued some emission norms, then they should be aware about it. They should know how to achieve it. And then we need also the involvement of the industries which are actually building those instruments which help industries in reducing these emissions. And that way we have issued the framework for IC activities where the stakeholders have been identified, where the activities have also been identified. So that way we have given the ecosystem which, once used, would ensure that every activity is being done the way it should be done.
So you mentioned IEC activities, which is information, education and communication. And tell us more about how that plays a role in achieving the targets that we are setting.
See, stakeholders, as we have already talked about, and citizens we have also talked about, their involvement is very important. If I issue a direction and if that direction does not reach to the lowest level, then we cannot imagine that that would be followed. And that's why it's important to know who are the people in that chain of activities who would actually implement that particular decision.